when you guys look at the title, what type of observations do you make, just right off the bat?
The elephants are like faithful to their country.
Okay, good. Anything else?
One of the main things about the story is going to be elephants.
Okay, good. Think about, look at the pictures and the colors. What do their colors tell you?
Pink.
Okay, pink. So what do you think about when you get pink? When you see the color pink, you're wearing it right now. Okay, I think about pink. Anybody else on pink?
Well, there are cherry blossoms in Japan.
Good.
And making them pink.
Good. Cherry blossoms. Okay, when I look at this, I see the pink, I see the elephants, but then I see the word war. And to me, I don't connect those. I don't connect war with pink and with elephants, okay? So keep that in mind. Also, while we're reading, I want you to have a sticky note out. And what we're doing is, while we're reading, let's pay attention, and especially pay attention to the pictures in this book. Okay, but while we're reading, I just want you to jot down, if you hear an example or think of an example to help us out with themes, because we're going to try to get some themes of this book when we're done, okay? Everybody ready? I need to see all eyes before I'm going to start reading. Right, you got a sticky note up?
Here, I'll give you one.
Thank you, Casey. Okay. The cherry blossoms are in full bloom at the Ueno Zoo. Their petals are falling in the soft breeze and sparkling in the sun. Beneath the cherry trees, crowds of people are pushing to enter the zoo on such a beautiful day. Two elephants are outside performing their tricks for a lively audience. What does lively mean?
They're not tired and they're really paying attention.
Good, they're really paying attention, but think about it. When you go to the zoo, I know when I go to the zoo, how do you feel? Excited?
Yeah.
Ready to go? Good. While blowing toy trumpets with their long trunks, the elephants walk along large wooden logs. Not far from the cheerful square, there stands a tombstone. Let's think about that sentence. Not far from a cheerful square, there stands a tombstone. What's a tombstone? Rodney.
It's kind of like an ancient rock or a Egyptian tomb.
What does it symbolize, especially in this example?
It marks where someone has died.
Good. So, not far from cheerful, this lively audience, there's a tombstone. Okay. Not many notice this monument for the animals that have died at the Ueno Zoo. It is quiet and peaceful here, and the sun warms every corner. One day, an employee of the zoo, while tenderly polishing the stone, told me a sad story of 3 elephants buried there. Today, he said, there are 3 elephants in this zoo, but years ago we had 3 different animals here. Their names were John, Tongi, and Wanli. At that time, Japan was at war. Can anybody hypothesize about what war this book would be talking about? Think about what we've been learning in class. World War II. That would make sense. We've been learning about that. Okay? So, at this time, Japan was at war in World War II. Gradually, the war had become more and more severe. Bombs were dropped on Tokyo every day and night, like falling rain. What type of figurative language is that? Malachi.
Like they're trying to say that rain was falling rain was coming down fast.
Okay, good. That's what it describes, but what type of figurative language? Jeff?
Simile?
Simile, okay? Let's read that again. Bombs were dropped on Tokyo every day and night, like falling rain. What does that simile do? for the reader?
Well, it kind of gives them a better understanding of what's really happening and like describing what it was like, and it makes it more detailed and more interesting for the reader.
Would everybody agree with that? What if they just said bombs were dropping? Like falling rain? Can you imagine bombs dropping like falling rain?
Like if you replace rain with bombs,
Yeah.
like little bombs.
What you do is you get that picture, the image in your head. That's what figurative language tries to do. Okay? Alright, and then this is the picture. I want you to pay attention. When I turn the page, I'm going to remember this, and look at the next page. And before we even read it, I want to get your thoughts on what's happening. Look at this.
Whoa. A dead
So not just thoughts, but I want you to pay attention to the first one. And what can you say about the tone of the story and how it has changed? Just based on pictures.
Well, it's changed by being really happy and all the elephants from being sad because someone or some animals have died, and like it's like more of like a story. It's more of like a it's something from the past, not like it's someone. It's like a story within a story.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference between the pictures is the first one is like it's like honoring the animals, and then the second one I think is from someone might have dropped a bomb there and some of the animals might have died.
Good. So the tone goes from happy to cherry blossoms to really dark. And when you're in this book, you need to pay attention to the colors and the drawings because they'll tell you a lot about that tone. Okay? All right. In this book right here, we just traveled back in time almost. Can anybody tell us in literacy, when we're reading, what's the term for if we travel back in time in a book?
We're actually listening to a story that happened like a long time ago that we should know about or learn.
Good. So what is that word for traveling back in time?
Realistic fiction.
I'm looking for a word. That's close.
Flashback.
Flashback. Okay, yeah, flashback. I think y'all knew it. You just had to get it out. So, we were in the present, and now we're flashing back to what time period?
Oh.
World War II. What would happen if bombs hit the zoo? The cages would be broken and dangerous animals escaped to run wild through the city. It would be terrible. Therefore, by command of the army, all of the lions, tigers, leopards, bears, and big snakes were poisoned to death. By and by, it came time for the 3 elephants to be killed. They began with John. John loved potatoes. So the elephant keepers mixed poisoned potatoes with good ones when it was time to feed him. John, however, was a very clever elephant. What does clever mean?
Smart.
Smart. Even more than smart.
Kind of witty.
Witty. Good. I like that word even better than smart. He ate the good potatoes, but each time he brought a poisoned potato to his mouth with his trunk, he threw it on the ground. Kaplunk.
Oh, yeah.
As it seems, there is no other way, the zookeeper said. We must inject poison directly into his body. A large syringe, the kind used to give shots to horses, was prepared. But John's skin was so tough that the big needles broke off with a loud snap, one after the other. So they kept on, and the syringe would break. When this did not work, the keepers reluctantly decided to starve him to death. Reluctantly. Did they want to starve him to death, the zookeepers?
No.
They what? They had to?
They were forced.
They were forced to. Good. Poor John died 17 days later. Then it was Tonky and Wanley's turn to die. These two had always gazed at people with loving eyes. They were sweet and gentle-hearted. The zookeepers wanted so much to keep Tonky and Wanley alive that they thought of sending them to the zoo in Sendai, far north of Tokyo. But what if the bombs fell in Sendai? What if the elephants got loose and ran wild there? What would happen then? Tonky and Wanley, too, were doomed to be killed at the Ueno Zoo, just like all the other animals. The elephant keepers stopped feeding Tonky and Wanley. As the days passed, the elephants became thinner and thinner, weaker and weaker. Whenever a keeper walked by their cage, they would stand up, tottering as if to beg, "Give us something to eat, please, give us water." Now, did the elephants actually say that?
No.
How did they express that? And how did the zookeepers know?
Well, by their looks and their movements.
Good, their looks and their movement. It said they would stand up. So did they, the elephants we know are clever, so did they know the zookeepers were the ones to feed them? And did they know what to do? Why were they standing up? Because they wanted what?
Food.
And did they have any?
No.
Their small, loving eyes began to look like round rubber balls. Figurative language there?
Yes.
What is it? Simile, good. In their drooping, shrunken faces, their ears seemed too large for their bodies. The once big, strong elephants had become a sad shape. Okay? That's a pretty powerful statement when you think about an elephant, big and powerful, becoming a sad shape. Okay? Keep that in mind for theme, for a possible theme. All this while, the elephant's trainer loved them as if they were his own children. He could only pace in front of the cage and moan, "You poor, poor, pitiful elephants." One day, Tonky and Wanley lifted their heavy bodies, staggered to their feet, and came close to their trainer. Squeezing out what little strength they had left, Tonky and Wanley made their appeal. What is an appeal? The elephants made their appeal, and this is them making their appeal. What is appeal, Charlie?
It's kind of like when they make their noises with their trunks or something.
Okay, similar, but in this situation, who else? Has anybody made an appeal for something? Think about it that way. Good. Appeal. Okay? If I really want something, if I really want to go on a vacation, I might make an appeal to my mom. Okay? Please let me go. In this case, they're saying, please what? Please feed me. Okay? They're standing up. They're begging. They're weak. They're broken. So does everybody understand how that appealed in this context? They stood on their hind legs and lifted their front legs up as high as they could. Then, raising their trunks high in the air, they did their bonsai trick. Surely their friend would reward them with food and water as he used to do. So they're trying everything. They're even doing their trick that they do to try to get water. It's almost the last resort for them. Their trainer could not stand it no longer. "Oh, Tonky, oh, Wanley," he wailed and dashed to the food shed. He carried food and pails of water to them and threw it at their feet. "Here," he said, sobbing, clung to their thin legs. "Eat your food. Please drink. Drink your water." All of the other keepers pretended not to see what the trainer had done. No one said a word. Why?
I think they don't tell anybody because if they were to tell somebody, then the other people would probably take them away.
Good. But they couldn't stand it any longer. They weren't allowed to. They didn't want to. Because did they like these elephants?
Yes.